4K, drop another fire.
SFl Nation, welcome back to SFl Nights with AJ Striker. Thank you so much for joining me today or tonight or whenever you decide to hit that play button or turn on that radio dial. I really appreciate it, y'all. Look who I have here as my special co-host for the week, Mr. T-Roy Gaines. He is a running back for the Baltimore Vultures. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. I got to do my obligatory show Baltimore Vulture logo. There you go. Still supporting Sector 6.
Yeah.
Where?
We all are.
Yes.
I'm still a little in my feelings about this game that just passed.
It was a close one. It was a very close one.
It really was. I can't take that away. We both played our hearts out, but you know, you guys got the better of us. We didn't miss that field goal though, man. Tell me.
Yeah, we got the upper hand this time, so I'll take one over what happened last season when we lost to Atlanta on a close one. So,
man, I definitely understand. But thank you for joining me as my co-host. We're going to break down these games for week 1 and then share our picks for week 2. And everybody, I actually have a fantastic 4th and Goal interview as well, featuring Mr. Gerald G and Cameron Irvine, the commissioner. So it's going to be some awesome stuff. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. All right. So week 1 review. Now, I did make my picks for week 1, and the teams I chose were Arizona, Atlanta, Queen City, Louisiana, Florida, Carolina, London, Jacksonville, San Diego, Mexico, Sioux Falls, and Portland. So we're going to see how well everything worked out. Hope I got them all right?
Stop the cap.
No.
Stop the cap right now.
What you say?
No comment.
Yeah, you better not comment. So the Atlanta Swarm took on the Tulsa Desperados, and Atlanta won 44-17. I was right about this game.
Yeah.
Atlanta had 186 yards passing, 241 yards rushing, and 427 yards total. They held the ball for 18 minutes and 56 seconds with 3 turnovers. Tulsa had 346 yards passing, 31 yards rushing, 377 yards total. Their time of possession was 25 minutes and 4 seconds with 5 turnovers. So T-Roy, what did you think about that?
I think this was a totally dominated game by Atlanta. Right after BDG Hollywood scored his first touchdown, but before that one, it was a defensive struggle from both sides. And then BDG Hollywood just opened up the floodgates. All of his rushing touchdowns were long touchdown runs. And if you want to go to Tulsa, look at the positives here for them. JQ with the 346 yards passing, 2 TDs. Gabriel Manning did Gabriel Manning things himself. 112 receiving yards, 228 yards as a kick returner. He enters season 16 on fire, so I can't wait to see what Tulsa does in response to this loss against Atlanta. But it was the BDG Hollywood show this week for sure.
Speaking of the BDG Hollywood show, he was the player of the game with 24 attempts, 237 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 12 reception yards. Great stuff.
I want to learn how to make long touchdown runs like him. I want to be like him when I grow up.
You a whole Mack truck yourself. So I don't even know what are you talking about.
I don't average 237.
No, but you're still dragging defenders down the field with you, man. It's about 2 or 3. We'll talk about that in a minute. Fort Worth Toros took on the Queen City Corsairs, and Queen City won. I was right about this game, and it was their 100th win since they have existed. The Fort Worth Toros had 170 yards passing, 81 yards rushing, 251 yards total. Their time of possession was 22 minutes and 7 seconds with 2 turnovers. Queen City had 247 yards passing, 42 yards rushing, and 289 yards total. Their time of possession was 21 minutes and 26 seconds with 3 turnovers. T-Roy, what you think about that?
This was a matchup where 2 former Queen City players get to face their former team with Nacho Sicario and Stephen Hacker. So, they were motivated to show up and show out against their former team. They actually had the lead in the first half, but Queen City came back with Jet Zero's 2 rushing touchdowns on the day, and then Hayes with 2 interceptions. I believe he actually had the game-winning interception to close it out. Nacho Sicario was on fire, 11 total tackles, and he had 1 interception. Eric Benson, 9 total tackles. Just the offense, besides Williams, couldn't, score any more points after the first half, and Queen City made that great comeback to get their 100th win.
And speaking of Jet Zero, he was a player of the game, halfback. He had 20 attempts, 45 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 10 reception yards. You think that was a good call for them?
Because of the touchdowns, those were important. It could have went to the Hayes as well with his game-changing interceptions. But I know Zero didn't like the yards that he got, but those touchdowns were very important in the win.
Very much so. A surprising game for me was Louisiana taking on Vancouver, and Vancouver winning 45-34. I was wrong about this game. And Louisiana had 409 yards passing, so Bickler put up those points, but only 78 yards rushing. At 487 yards total, their time of possession was 28 minutes and 8 seconds with 4 turnovers. Vancouver had 404 yards passing, 102 yards rushing, 506 yards total. Their time of possession was 15 minutes and 27 seconds with 4 turnovers. So how do you make such a difference only having the ball for 15 minutes, T-Roy?
Well, it's when the interceptions took place. We're first going to start off with Kendra Hall scoring the first touchdown as the new wide receiver. Of course, she's taking over the spot for Rich Pratchett, who's longer with the team, and she did a great job. She and Killian combined for 2 rushing touchdowns. They both have over 140 yards receiving. And Evan Arthur, I think, played a huge part in this. He had an interesting tweet, which I mentioned during the game because I actually called that game with Ramos Lynn. It's basically saying he's going to shut out Brett Killian and basically win the game. And we all know what happened there. Killian torched them during the third quarter, first quarter, scoring their 3rd touchdown in the game. And unfortunately, Pickler, yes, he had 409 yards passing, 3 TDs. You figured if he had that many yards, that should be a win. But those 4 interceptions and when it happened was costly. 1 pick 6 by Ashley Lowe's Finch took it to the house for 96 yards. She actually has 2 interceptions that game. Major Key has 2 interceptions as well. But you mentioned the shocking part. 73 yards rushing from Louisiana. I don't think anybody expect that from the guy who ran over 2,000 yards 2 times in his career, and that's Reggie Streeter. I was shocked, but that shows you the great coaching of Andy Hamilton. He got his squad ready, and Robert Redford had a huge touchdown run to basically ice the game in the second half. All
right, and then player of the game for them was a quarterback, Tom Pepper. 21 completions out of 28 attempts. Beautiful. 4 touchdowns, 116.7 QBR. Wow, 21 for 28. That's pretty good.
Remember, they met in the quarterfinals last season where they lost to Louisiana. Pepper threw, unfortunately, for 6 interceptions. This game, only 3 with 4 touchdowns. Awesome game by him. Very, very, very good. An impressive win by Vancouver. I can't wait to see their next matchup, which we'll talk about later on.
Absolutely. The Florida Storm took on the Lone Star Glory, and Lone Star won 45-23. I was also wrong about this game. Florida had 312 yards passing, 32 yards rushing. and 344 yards total. Their time of possession was 17 minutes and 40 seconds with 2 turnovers. The Glory had 313 yards passing, 140 yards rushing for 453 total yards. Their time of possession was 26 minutes and 20 seconds with no mistakes. What'd you think about this?
Was wondering how Florida's offense is going to be with 2 running backs, only 1 star receiver, and 1 tight end. They usually have at least 3 or 4 star receivers. And while the passing game was on point with Cochran throwing for 312 and 2 touchdowns, the running game had 32 yards rushing. Did not help them, and they got behind the 8 ball right away with Ace Finnick throwing for 3 touchdowns. No sacks and no interceptions either. McBride and Collier combined for 144 rushing, 3 touchdowns by McBride herself. And Soto had one of the best plays of the week, as you saw in the SFL Top 10, an 84-yard touchdown reception. He had 115 yards receiving in that game. This was a revenge game for Lone Star as they lost to Florida in the playoffs. They definitely got their revenge there. Great, impressive victory by the Glory.
Yeah, dropping those 40 burgers. Anytime you can drop a 40 burger, that's a big deal.
One of 3 teams who did.
Exactly, this week. So you can imagine what the whole season is going to be like. Man. It's going to be
right.
Yeah, the game was, in fact, Miss Ike McBride with 19 attempts, 95 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 21 reception yards.
Miss All-Purpose. She was a Mack truck getting in that end zone. People had to get out of her way or she's going to run them over. Very impressive game by her. Well-deserved player of the game.
Woman power. I love it. I love it. Carolina Skyhawks. Oh my God, I was going to say it wrong. Wow. Versus the Las Vegas Fury. That was a great game to watch, and Las Vegas won 22-10. I was wrong about this game. No. Carolina had 253 yards passing, 96 yards rushing, 349 yards total. Time of possession was 23 minutes and 37 seconds with 5 turnovers. Las Vegas had 256 yards passing, 90 yards rushing for 346 yards total. Their time of possession was 19 minutes and 46 seconds with 2 turnovers. So what did you think about this one?
Well, Xander Goes, a new quarterback for Carolina, replacing Richardson, who's now with LA. He had 253 passing, 1 touchdown. Unfortunately, the 5 interceptions did cost them. Logan Jack was Mr. All-Purpose, 160 total yards, rushing and receiving combined, with 1 receiving touchdown. Harish Prasad almost had 100 yards receiving in the game. Defense did well, 2 interceptions, 1 sack, and there's 3 players who had 6 total tackles each. But it was the new quarterback for Las Vegas, Pierce, taking over for Tom Rahman Sr., who's now the owner of LA. 256 yards passing, 1 touchdown. Johnson, 93 yards rushing, 1 touchdown. Blades, who had play of the game in the top 10 plays of the game, for week 1, 144 yards receiving, 1 touchdown. And Jackson Atira Jury combined for 4 interceptions, a dominating performance overall by the Fury.
Yes, Blades was actually the player of the game. He's wide receiver. For the Las Vegas Fury, he had 7 receptions, 144 yards, 1 touchdown, and 20.6 yards per reception. So great stuff. They had a fantastic showing, and it's great to see the rookies out there making an impact,
Agreed.
So the London Knights took on the DC Dragons, and London won 20-10. I was right about this game. London had 219 yards passing, 32 yards rushing, 251 yards total. Their time of possession was 22 minutes and 33 seconds with 2 turnovers. DC had 214 yards passing, 71 yards rushing, and 285 yards total. Their time of possession was 20 minutes and 46 seconds with 2 turnovers as well. What did you think?
Well, this was basically a close game. At the end, actually, London had the lead for most of the game. I take that back, and then DC was able to score their 10 points in the second half. London had this game in firm control since the beginning. McClain with 219 passing, The wide receivers Storm and Zeke with 1 touchdown receiving each, and then the defense Joseph 5 total tackles. 4 of them were tackles for loss. Ewing also has 6 tackles. Defense was phenomenal. Kevin Say, the rookie, 71 yards rushing for DC. We got 4 people with 9 total tackles each. Higher, Rockefeller, Cuse, and Hendershot. Good showing for the defense of DC, just not enough to get the win against London, as I guess the headlines is the night slay the Dragons this week.
No, that was actually pretty good, man. Did you make that up?
No, that's actually what's said by Benji Matson on the Discord when they was promoting this game. So
that was pretty good. That was a good one. Player of the game was quarterback Angus McLean with 35 completions out of 42 attempts, 219 yards, 2 touchdowns, and his quarterback rating is 94.3. Houston versus Jackson. The Houston Hyenas took on the Jacksonville Kings, and Jacksonville won 27-13. I was right about this game. Houston had 277 yards passing, 103 yards rushing for 380 total yards. Their time of possession was 24 minutes and 31 seconds with 2 turnovers. Jacksonville had 197 yards passing, 251 yards rushing, 448 yards total. Their time of possession was 19 minutes and 10 seconds with 4 turnovers. So what's up with being able to win the game and not have the ball so long?
Well, it's all about the impact of one player on the team wearing the purple, and that is Mr. E-back Jared Willis. You already mentioned his stats: 251 yards rushing, 10.5 yards per carry. So that means you're getting a first down before you get hit, basically. That's what he was averaging per carry. 2 long touchdown runs. The longest was 75 yards. Both of those touchdowns was in the first half. Jacksonville basically had this game firmly in hand since the first half. Houston couldn't score any touchdowns in the first half. Got their only touchdown with a pass to DR Sim. This was King's first game in for Houston, and he played against his former franchise. He was formerly the quarterback of the then Tallahassee Pride, now Jacksonville Kings. Not bad with 227 yards passing, 1 TD. Murray had 103 yards rushing, so both running backs went over 100 yards. But it's just that Jared Willis took the game over on the first half after the game started with a defensive struggle.
Took the game over so much so that he was the player of the game. He had 24 attempts for 251 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 9 reception yards. So kudos, man. Another great game to watch was the San Diego Mavericks taking on the LA Lycans, and LA won 31-17. I was wrong about this game. San Diego had 291 yards passing, 34 yards rushing, 325 yards total. Their time of possession was 25 minutes and 30 seconds with no mistakes. LA had 294 yards passing, 145 yards rushing for 439 yards total. Their time of possession was 18 minutes and 4 seconds with 3 turnovers. So LA had turnovers. Seems like they, just barely made the more passing yards than San Diego. So it's obvious that the rushing was the key to this game.
That was the huge difference. With Johnson had a 40-yard touchdown run, 151 yards rushing. That touchdown run also made the top 10 plays of the game for this week. It also didn't hurt that Flash and Reed, the wide receivers for the Lycans, combined for 200 yards receiving. Both had a touchdown each. And a lot of players with over 7 total tackles. We got Blaze for the Lycans, 11 total tackles. Then Raman Jr., Joseph, Jones, Joseph, and Colston, I guess to get their names out, 7 total tackles each. For the offense of San Diego, I'm kind of shocked that Optimus Klein didn't get many looks. He's, the owner and the player. He didn't get that many looks. Weston performed very well, however, for San Diego Mavericks. 7 receptions, 141 yards receiving. The big thing is that the running game couldn't get off the ground this time, so I know that Optimus Klein and the Mavericks will look to improve on that next week.
Definitely. Player of the game was quarterback Sully Richardson. 24 completions out of 32 attempts, 294 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a quarterback rating of 108.1. Think they gave it to the right person?
I think they did. It could have been him or Johnson, but definitely Richardson. A nice debut with his new team after leaving Carolina. 294 passing yards. Tremendous day.
Fantastic. The Mexico City Aztecs took on the Charleston Predators, and Charleston won 30-17. I was wrong about this game too. Man, I'm on the roll with the nose.
Bruh.
Charleston,
She said that.
because they know.
Wow.
Charleston had 203 yards passing, 142 yards rushing, with 354 yards total. Their time of possession was 23 minutes and 24 seconds with 4 turnovers. Mexico City had 239 yards passing, 76 yards rushing, with 315 yards total. Their time of possession was 20 minutes straight up, with 4 turnovers as well. So what did you think about this game?
Heap Swearingen is a beast, still is a beast.
Mm-hmm.
142 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. Moyer, the field goal kicker for Charleston, 3 for 3 for longer 51. Jack Brown with 14 total tackles. Heard that right, 14 total tackles. And Baker and Sevilla, I hope I got the names right, combined for 3 sacks. What hurt Mexico City in the first half was their turnovers. I believe all 4 of their turnovers happened in the first half. Matt Wilson threw 3 interceptions. Ray Bentley only had that fumble in the second possession, I believe. Running game just got 76 yards rushing. Mike Daggs, surprisingly, only 20 yards receiving. The guy who was the top tight end in the SFL in basically every category only got 20 yards receiving. You know that's going to change next week. Great job by the Charleston Predators defense, just basically holding Mexico City in check in the first half, and that allowed their offense to score the points that they needed.
All right. Player of the game was halfback Keith Swearingen. 32 attempts, 142 yards, 2 touchdowns, and averaged 4.4 yards per carry. Denver Nightwings took on the Sioux Falls Sparrows, and Denver won 33-7. I was wrong about this game. Sioux Falls had 188 yards passing and only 55 yards rushing. Colin Hart, where were you, bro? For 243 yards total. Time of possession was 18 minutes and 12 seconds with no turnovers. But Denver had 273 yards passing, 172 yards rushing for 445 yards total. Time of possession was 25 minutes with 25 seconds and 1 turnover. Clearly, rushing was the name of the game in this one too, huh?
Right. 172 for Denver with 55 for Sioux Falls, as you mentioned earlier. Colin Hart only 34 yards rushing. That was the big shocker. Denver's defense was prepared for Colin Hart this week. Nick Fargo for Sioux Falls had 10 total tackles with 1 interception. Jose Fuentes 14 total tackles with 3 tackles for loss. McChesney 159 rushing, averaging 5.2 yards per carry with 2 touchdowns. McChesney doing what McChesney always does, having a great game. Adam Weisman was a beast. He was definitely responsible for holding Hart to just 34 yards rushing. Mm-hmm. He had 12 total tackles in that game. The only surprising stat, which didn't hurt Denver this week, no pass deflections or interceptions from their star players, which is very weird for a stat line. But again, didn't hurt them this week. It was able to hold Sioux Falls to 7. They only scored 7 at the end of the game. So this was a dominating performance by Denver.
Definitely. Player of the game was, of course, running back Jared McChesney. 28 attempts, 159 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 52 reception yards. St. Louis Gladiators took on the Portland Fleet, and St. Louis won. And this was a nail biter for everybody that watched. 20-16, and I was again wrong about this game. St. Louis had 296 yards passing, 27 yards rushing, and 323 yards total. They had the ball for 19 minutes and 34 seconds with 2 turnovers. Portland had 158 yards passing, 113 yards rushing, with 271 yards total. The time of possession was 22 minutes and 42 seconds with 1 turnover. So what do you think happened with Portland? Because I know that Portland was leading for a while.
Yeah, they had the lead at halftime. Ezekiel Love, 113 yards rushing with 1 touchdown. Matt South, you already mentioned what he had. But Love's production in the first half was awesome. Portland's offense, the whole offense, defense, special teams were great in the first half. And then it looks like they took their foot off the gas, and St. Louis was able to make that comeback with Eagle Madavi and Brown. It was their show in the second half. Madavi had 152 yards receiving with 2 receiving touchdowns. Brown got his first touchdowns of his career, of course, to Madavi, 296 yards passing. And then the defense, Peltier, Winkler, Gronick, and Douglas all have 1 interception each in that game. Panani have over 7 total tackles. They was able to adapt, make the adjustments, and held Portland just to 16 points, and they was able to make that comeback. It was just like it was what was the other game? There was one other game that was the score was just like that. Fort Worth and Queen City.
Mm-hmm.
Fort Worth had the lead in the first half. Queen City was able to make the comeback. It was basically the same thing with St. Louis in Portland.
Gotcha. Player of the game was, in fact, wide receiver Eagle Mandavi with 13 receptions, 152 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 11.7 yards per catch. And here we go. I say this game for last. Arizona took on Baltimore Vultures. Arizona Scorpions took on the Baltimore Vultures, and Baltimore won 27-21. Probably the closest game out of everybody. Well, besides Portland. Actually, Portland and St. Louis is closer. But I was wrong about this game.
No.
Baltimore had 324 yards passing, 85 yards rushing, 409 yards total. Held the ball for 24 minutes and 20 seconds with 3 turnovers. Arizona had 206 yards passing, 46 yards rushing, 252 yards total. Time of possession was 19 minutes and 8 seconds with 4 turnovers. So, what do you think about this game, bro?
Very close one. I think I got more gray hairs watching that game thanks to you guys. And as Kate, Steven said, and as I talked to my teammates and everybody in the locker room, we're going to be getting everybody's best shot this season because we're the ones who currently has the title. We're defending champs. You guys in Arizona definitely brought it. It was a scary game, and it weren't for Lo Shaw with his 3 interceptions, helping us in the second half as well. And then Shark being Mr. Clutch as the kicker, going 6 for 6. I think this could have been a completely different story. You guys definitely held us in check on offense. We only scored 1 touchdown, so defense, came to play. You guys made it scary. We're very fortunate to get off with a win this week.
I mean, you did have to hoist your banners. We didn't want to embarrass y'all too bad after you just hoisted your banners. No, man. But y'all did. You guys always do a heck of a job. It was, I don't know how many sims that was ran in regards to you guys, because we didn't know whether you're going to be coming with the Minneapolis Maulers offensive playbook. We didn't know if you was going to be reaching all the way back to season 3 or whatever, just to try to throw us off and everything. But for us to only be down, have a 6-point difference, and a lot of people counted us out before they started, that was a feat in itself, So we hung with the champs. You got the better of us, but hey, man, it was a great game to watch, and it was, Baltimore has always been cool with me. The whole team, has always been great for me. TJ, it's awesome, So I I'm what y'all had at this time. But if I see you again, no.
That the purple chair was on our sidelines throughout the whole game, motivating us to get that win, right?
I saw him over there, but I went and quickly got him back because it wasn't supposed to be over there in the first place. I don't even know how
you never got him back. He's at my house here in Baltimore.
You got that ugly chair.
No, that's your ugly chair. My chair is smiling. giving us money for stash to invest in stash. You know,
I needed that chair more than you. Clearly, we lost the game, man. Don't take everything. Can't take everything.
Here's the thing about the chair. I'm going to upset her about this one. When the chair was first introduced, it was neither mine or hers. It was Cece's from Jacksonville. He called it right away. Mm-hmm. You wanted to take it from him.
Yes,
because the reason why he called it because it was purple. Jacksonville wears purple. And then here I come, the douchebag of the story, and take the chair from both of them, and I still have it to this day. So you can blame me, but it was actually Cece's chair. Ashley wanted to take it, but Cece had it first, and Cece's like, I'm done with you guys. Y'all can argue over it.
Cece knew what it was. Because Cece knew what was up. He knew he wasn't supposed to have that chair in the first place. When I see it, it's mine. And I'm going to let you have the other one. And I'm going to keep this one. Now, you win another ring, I'll let you have it. I won't say nothing else about the chair. Win another ring, and I'll let you have it. All right?
I keep my mouth shut because I don't want to talk trash and jinx the team. So I'm not going to say anything. I know better.
Right, I feel you. Now, unfortunately, the graphic for the player of the week did not come up. I guess they had to actually cut it to go to another game. So, who would you give the player of the game to?
We had many great choices. Ivory Irvin had over 100 yards receiving. Jack Whitmore did a great job as always. We had Saron Yates was able to get a safety. Sorry, Ashley. Saron Yates was able to get a safety to help, basically ice the game. And Troy Loshaw with 3 interceptions, but I want to give it to Shark Tarkington. Mr. Clutch, 6 for 6 for the field goals made, and I believe his longest was 51. Did I remember I put that down?
Yeah, I think it was
53. Sorry, 53.
Okay.
And he's basically responsible for the points, most of our points on the scoreboard. So I'll give it to Shark. Mr.
Okay,
Clutch.
the only reason why he got that safety because I slipped. If I ain't slipped.
See, you got caught looking at my beautiful chair on the sidelines, and Saron Yates took advantage. Just like, yes, safety.
Which I ain't have to keep slamming me like that, though. I got sacked a lot.
Hey, it was hard for me to run against y'all again. Y'all basically hold me in check the last 2 times we played y'all. I mean, I'm happy I got the 90 yards rushing. But
okay,
still,
it was 85. It was 85.
It said 90. I'm taking every yard I can get. Y'all stingy.
Well, yeah, we gotta be sure.
Yes,
but it was a fun game to watch, and even though it was an outcome that the Scorpions wanted, it was still a great game. So we appreciate y'all for that, man. Mm-hmm. I got 4 games right that I guessed and 8 wrong this week.
Wow.
Got a little work to do. So hopefully, things will turn around with our picks for week 2. But I did want to mention and kind of gauge your interest on Cam and Mike St. Green's performance for the pregame, halftime shows, and the post games, adding that different dynamic to the shows. That was great. They did a great job. Very minimal mistakes made by both, and I thought it was the great job they did. What did you think?
Cam did a great job picking Mike St. Green to be his partner for the pre and post game shows. I think it's a great addition because it makes it even closer to what you see on Sundays in that other league. You see the pregame, you see the halftime show, you have a post game if the games don't run over, and if one game ends early, you get the extra bonus coverage from the Twitch game that's on. So Cam is doing Cam things as always. I guess we can say that. And I think him and Mike St. Green is a great addition. It's kind of weird not having Cam in the booth this year. He's not going to be in the booth this year. He'll be doing the pre and post game stuff. So it's different. If I don't know anybody knows that we did not have Cam in the booth officially in week 1. And that's going to be the case unless there's, hopefully it won't be an emergency. I'll knock on wood. That won't be an emergency. Yeah, you maybe, I guess he'll be calling the championship game or something. We got to get Cam back in the booths at some point, but he won't be in the booth this year, but he'll definitely be involved in the pre and post game stuff. So he's still doing his thing. Right.
And I think that just brings, like I said, a different dynamic to it to kind of get him to be viewed in a different light as well. He's giving everybody the tools that they need. So I'm gonna leave you guys here, and I'm gonna take on a new venture, and it all meshes together really well. So I thought it was great, and even the new graphics that he introduced to how you can actually see the other game as it was going on and things like that, to keep you from going through all the channels going back and forth, because that is hard. I try to be at everybody's game, but that's hard.
Yeah, I could even watch all the games since they're we at least have 2 games going on at the same time.
Right.
So it's definitely a nice plus to have that scoreboard on the top left, so you'll be able to see what's going on. And as you mentioned earlier, which if people are wondering why I don't give y'all shout outs on a consistent basis, because I'm trying to focus on the game, and that chat box moves so fast. It's like, oh crap, I forgot all the names that was just there. So yeah, at least that makes one thing easier to keep up with the scoreboard being on the top left of the screen.
All right, awesome. So let's go over week 2. All right, I'm gonna let you lead that one.
All right, well, on FTF, Twitch, and 11 Sports for the TV airing, it'll be Los Angeles versus Houston to start the Saturday, January 30th lineup at 4:30 Eastern time. It'll be at Houston. Of course, Houston is trying to get their first win of the season. Los Angeles with the impressive win over San Diego.
Yes, and Los Angeles showing this past week. I think I'm gonna go with LA on this one. I know that Houston, it's gonna be a home game, which is really hard to go against the home teams. But I think with Sully Richardson, I think helping out with defense and things like that, I think that's gonna give him that slight edge. So I will go with LA on this.
Now, am I supposed to be picking with you? Oh God! So now I have to do this. Well, I'm going to. And for everybody, I'm not going against anybody. We were just making picks for fun. I'm going to go, yeah. So no hate on anybody. I think that if LA can minimize the mistakes on the road, they should win this one. Their offense was on fire last week. They have a good chance to duplicate that if they, again, minimize mistakes. Houston's going to be motivated, but I think it'll be a close win by LA.
Yeah, I know Damon is really, really adamant about winning. He's really adamant about getting these guys involved. So that's going to be a tough game. But yeah, I think LA may just pull off just a little bit. Next up, we have Lone Star Glory taking on the Carolina Skyhawks at 5:05 p.m. TV, ESN bonus coverage, streaming on SFL Twitch channel. And I am going to go with the Lone Star Glory on this one. What about you, T-Roy?
I think Carolina's going to be hungry, but I think Lone Star has the advantage right now. I think Lone Star knows who they are as an offense. They got Ike McBride, very consistent, very, very consistent player. The passing game is awesome. They got Carolina has to watch out for Soto, but Carolina can scare people. I think it'll be Lone Star with a close win as well.
Okay, what we got next?
We got a very familiar rivalry if those who've been involved in this league since season 10. It's Jacksonville versus Florida. Jacksonville was formerly Tallahassee. Florida was formerly Alaska. They met in the season 10 and 11 championships. And of course, they have met in a regular season since then and also in the playoffs. This will be at Florida. Started at 6:40 Eastern time in the evening. Is televised on 11 Sports with streaming on FTF Twitch, Ashley.
I think, with Florida, with Mighty, he's always changed up the grand scheme of things. Hence is why he decided to change his whole team build up. Jacksonville coming out fresh off and win. I think I'm going to give it to Florida this time, though. I think that Mighty is going to go in the lab and make those adjustments, and they're going to wind up with the victory. What about you?
Yeah, Mighty is a very, very good coach. Frank Gooden is a very good coach as well. I'll know that Mighty will make the adjustments to have his offense produce better, but if they get in a hole like they did last week, I think it's going to spell trouble for them. Jacksonville, I think, still has a more balanced offense attack with Willis, the E-back, running like he's either Adrian Peterson or Derrick Henry out there with his touchdown runs last week. I'm going to go ahead and take Jacksonville on this one.
Okay. All right. Queen City Corsairs will be taking on St. Louis. St. Louis will be playing at home on ESN bonus coverage and streaming on SFL Twitch at 7:15 p.m. I think, and then St. Louis is going to be at home. Ooh, and the way they played, they are not to be taken lightly. But I think experience is going to win out in this one. And I'm going to go with Queen City Corsairs on this. What do you think?
I'm going to go with Queen City as well, just for the same reason, the experience there. If St. Louis can get their running game going and keep Queen City's offense on the sidelines a lot longer and give them fewer possessions in the game, I sincerely think that St. Louis can pull off the victory. But I think Queen City should win this one.
Okay. Gotcha. What's next?
We have at 9 p.m. streaming on LSN, also on FTF, Facebook, and Twitch. It's Arizona, your team, traveling to Charleston.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course, I'm not going to go against my team. Of course, Arizona's going to win. Even though we are traveling. And we did travel to take you guys on too. But I'm not going to lose faith. I think we're going to win at least by a touchdown. What do you say?
I think it'll be a close game. What will help you guys if you can minimize the turnovers on the road, because Charleston, as you saw last week against Mexico City, they definitely capitalized over their turnovers in the first half. So if you guys minimize those mistakes, I think you will definitely win it. If not, I think you got to watch out for Keith Swearingen, because he will definitely wear down defense. You got the defensive squad that can handle running backs. I know personally, 2 games in a row, I'm still soaking in that hot tub, trying to wear off the hits that I got from you guys. But I think you guys should win if y'all minimize mistakes. If not, I think Charleston will win this.
Okay. And the Portland Fleet will be taking on the Tulsa Desperados at Greenwood Stadium at 9:20 p.m., streaming on SFL Twitch. I think this is going to be a fantastic game, first off. But I think that the new addition of JQ over in Tulsa, he does have the potential to be a scrambler as well. I think that he is actually going to help Tulsa win this game. It will be a home game for Tulsa, and they typically win their home games as well. Not to say that Portland is not a good team, because they did show glimpse of, they had some very good opportunities this past game, but I think that Tulsa is going to edge them out with the win.
I think Tulsa should win this one. They got Gabriel Manning. They need to get Sanzo Robinson involved in the running game more. If they do so, I think they should handle Portland. But Portland, if they just have the lead, they need to keep their foot on the gas. That's what hurt them against St. Louis. And St. Louis was able to make the adjustments and come back and get the W. So if Portland has the lead, they can't let up. Otherwise, Manny's going to burn them in. So I believe it's going to be a Tulsa win. Also, I can't let myself off the hook. I didn't give a win against your game. I'm going to go with Arizona on your game.
Thank you. Did I just say it because you're on my show, are you?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
All right. Cool. And all those games take place on Saturday, January the 30th. So Sunday, January the 31st at 4:30 p.m. Mexico City will be taking on the London Knights at Queensway. Streaming on For the Fans, Twitch TV. This is going to be a great game, and I'm thinking that London is actually going to take this over Mexico City as well. The way they play, they definitely have a turnaround. I know that Chad Rowland has been helping out tremendously. I think that may be the deciding factor. So what say you?
Yeah, London, as I mentioned, and not only your podcast, but other podcasts, with the addition of Chad Rowland, is going to be a different London Knights team. They got a very convincing win over DC last week. Mexico City, however, is still damn, they're still scary. If Matt Wilson can minimize those mistakes, and if they can get Mike Daggs involved, I think that's going to be the difference. Mike Daggs will probably have more receptions for more yards this week than he did against Charleston. If that happens, I think Mexico City will win the game. But I have to pick. So if I have to pick anything, I will go with my broadcast partner, Ramos Lynn. I'll pick Mexico City. I'll go out on limb on that one.
All right. Sounds good to me. And who's next?
We have at 5:05 the bonus coverage for that time slot, Fort Worth versus Louisiana. Of course, both teams lost last week. Louisiana has to be hungry after their performance. Reggie Streeter has to be hungry. Fort Worth, they had a win in the palm of their hands, and a late interception at the end of the game cost them. So if I'm picking, I think I'm going with Louisiana. I think they're going to be a little bit more motivated after that loss against Vancouver. I believe that Streeter will have a better game, but Fort Worth is up to the challenge. But I believe Streeter will have a better game, and I think Louisiana will win this one.
Yeah, Stephen Hacker and Fort Worth definitely will be up for the challenge, but I think that the way Johnny throws over there, Louisiana, by it being a home game, they're going to be at home where they normally win most of their games. I think that will be the deciding factor because Mike's 10 Screw does have a way of turning things around. So we'll see how everything works out, but I'm going to choose Louisiana with you.
I think this is a rematch game too. Didn't they face last season and Louisiana decided to wear black jerseys against Fort Worth as a 0 game?
Yes.
Yeah. So here's the thing: if they don't do any type of shenanigans like they did this week against Vancouver and last year against Fort Worth, I think they'll win. If they give any fuel to the fire, I think Louisiana is going to be in trouble. They gotta.
I did notice that. I did notice when the shenanigans happen, that's when they lose.
Yeah.
So let's just see how it winds up working out for them, though. At 6:40 p.m., the Sioux Falls Sparrows will be taking on the Baltimore Vultures, streaming on For the Fans and For the Fans Twitch. I am going to go with the champions, the Baltimore Vultures, on this one, even though Sioux Falls is one of the top tier teams. I think Baltimore just got what it takes to pretty much contend with everybody. It's more than just one thing that you have to prepare for with Baltimore. You have a whole slew of people that you have to prepare for versus really, if you take Colin Hart out of the game, then, you'd be like Denver and actually kind of take over. So what do you think?
Well, one, you're going to hate me because I will never, ever bet for or against Baltimore publicly. I will never do that because that's going to give us bad juju. So this is the one time, if I'm doing this segment for you, you notice I will never talk about or bet for or against my team. Just won't do that.
Okay, just blink one eye.
But I will know. But what I will do is, I know that Sioux Falls is going to be very, very motivated to face us. We talked about this during the championship podcast you had with us. Mm-hmm. They're going to be extremely motivated. They are a hard team to go up against. It's thankfully, it's a nice little advantage that we have. We're going to be at home for this one, but we can't sleep on them. Colin Hart's going to be ready to go back to doing what he did last season. Tyree is still a dangerous quarterback. The defense is still strong. Nick Fargo is a beast. AJ Levy is a beast. They caused me to fumble the ball in the first game of season 15. So it's going to be a tough one. We cannot sleep on them. And as I mentioned before, we're going to get everybody's best effort. We cannot sleep on anyone. We definitely can't sleep on Sioux Falls in spite of what happened last week.
Definitely. I'll leave you alone about that. But I will have you back on so you can just be like, you were thinking. Just tell me what you was thinking at that moment. Okay?
No.
All right, who we got next?
All right, in the 7:15 time slot, this will be the bonus coverage. It'll be Vancouver 1-0 versus Atlanta 1-0. I think this is the game. This will be on SFL Twitch. This is the game that I think is the marquee matchup for week 2. I'm not going to be biased about mine. So I think this is the marquee matchup. Both teams score over 40 points. BDG Hollywood did his thing. Tom Pepper did his thing. Tom Pepper's going against another great defense. Louisiana caused a lot of turnovers last year. They only throw for 3 interceptions is very impressive over them. And I think Tom Pepper is going to have to do either that or going to have to throw less against Atlanta. And they can keep Atlanta on the sidelines, their offense on the sidelines more, and prevent Hollywood from going off. They should win this one. Atlanta is scary. I got friends on both sides, so this sucks. Calling a victor. I'm going to go because their offense is a little bit more balanced. I'm going with Vancouver.
And that's a good point, that their offense is a little bit more balanced, because you don't know how Bryant is going to fare. You don't know if he's going to be throwing the interceptions or not. I'm still going to go with Atlanta, though. I think that BDG, and if they do have a plan to stop BDG, then they Atlanta may see problems. But I'm going to go with Atlanta. They're the home team, first off. Secondly, well, for my hometown, I should say. But secondly, I know that both coaches work tirelessly on these playbooks every season. But I think that Atlanta is going to have their edge, especially with Siege Falco throw to. If Brian Dynasty hits his targets, it's over. I mean, he wasn't the player of the year for nothing. Was it offensive rookie of the year, or was it offensive?
I believe he got rookie. I believe he got rookie.
So you don't get those accolades for nothing.
Right.
So this would be the time, a proving ground game, I should say, for them.
Mm-hmm.
At 9 p.m., the DC Dragons will be taking on the Denver Night Wings, streaming on LSN and for the fans, Facebook, Twitch. Going to be a great game. These coaches have been in the league for a very, very long time. But since DC is so young, I think that Denver is going to actually wind up taking this game. And they're actually playing in Denver as well. So I think that those are going to be the deciding factors.
I agree with you on that one. I do love DC. I'm very good friends with Jermaine, Lord Destro, the owner of DC. But Denver, they're good. Yeah. They're not a team to be messed with at home. And you go on the road and hold the runner-ups to just 7 points, and you score 33 on your own, and you stop their running game the way that you did. That's a statement win by the Night Wings. Sebastian Energy is going to have to play lights out against this very stingy defense. And they got to find ways to get Kevin Sate involved, because you saw what Colin Hart did. Actually, you saw what they did as a team under 100 yards rushing that they held Sioux Falls. So Kevin Sate's got his work cut out for him. I'll say Denver with the win.
All right. Got it. And lastly, 9:20 p.m., the Las Vegas Fury will be taking on the San Diego Mavericks. This will be streaming on SFL Twitch channel. They will be in San Diego. I do know that Optimus Klein, I'm familiar with him in other leagues. He actually runs another league. And when I see that he's down, that he has a way of finding a way to get his team back. To find a way to win. But with the performance of Las Vegas, how they dominated, I think that Las Vegas will wind up taking this win. Probably maybe by 10 points, but they're definitely going to take this. What do you think?
I think San Diego, if they're going to win, they would have to get Optimus involved in the passing game. They have to. It's good that Weston got hot, but Shea Carroll was one of the receivers on that team, my former teammate. Optimus Klein, everybody else, they had to get that passing game involved, more involved. The running game, Jalen Wells, the former fullback from Sioux Falls, he's now the starter for San Diego. He wants to, have a better performance than what he had last week. He got held under 100 yards rushing. If they can do that on offense, I think they can have a chance against Las Vegas. Las Vegas, they're going to be they're the more complete team on offense right now, passing and rushing. I will give it. I'm actually going to go against the grain. I'll go with San Diego.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Well, with that, all of these games are Eastern time. If you want to figure out how to join the league, if you want more information, if you want to see rosters, all of that good stuff, player articles, all of that good stuff, visit us at www.simulationfl.net. Next up, I have my 4th and goal interviews with Mr. Gerald G and Mr. Cameron Irvine. Stay tuned.